We often get a lot of questions about what to bring to China. So today we're going to tell you the top 10 things that we suggest you bring.
Okay, let's take a look. Number 1 is to bring cash.
Very, very, very important.
It's very important because in China, credit cards are generally not widely accepted. It's more to do with Union Pay, which is their equivalent. So cash is key. When you will need cash?
When you need cash is for all your medical checks, for getting pictures, for getting into a subway, into a taxi, buying food, buying maybe some personal items. You need cash for those because unless you have a bank account here, you can't really buy many things.
Yeah, I mean, once you actually get settled in, you will find that you will hardly ever use cash, which is the irony, and you'll be using things like WeChat Pay and Alipay and your own bank card. But to begin with, you definitely need a good amount of cash.
For sure. One of the biggest amount of cash you'll need is for your rent deposit. You're not going to get paid right away in China, so you need to have enough money for your rent and your deposit. Your rent is whatever, it can range from 3,000 to 5,000 RMB, and your deposit is 2 months of it. So right off the bat, when you rent an apartment, you'll have to pay three times your the rental amount. And as well, if you use an agent, that's half a month's rent. So all of this we'll explain later.
Yeah, it gets expensive, but a broad idea would be to bring something like 2,000 US dollars, pounds, something, you know, a little bit substantial just to give you a cushion.
And also have the currency of the RMB or the yuan. Don't have it in your own currency because it's hard to exchange it here. Number 2 on our list is health insurance.
Okay, so I've lived in 4 different foreign countries so far in my life, and what I've found is while you're traveling, you generally can't get health insurance, and if you do, that health insurance tends to be very expensive, more expensive than what you would get if you were to just buy health insurance in your home country before you leave for traveling. So I highly suggest you get some health insurance to cover you for your year here, and then you can just keep renewing that, and you'll save yourself a lot of money. So number 3, we have supplements and pharmaceuticals. Why?
Because all the brands here are Chinese brands, and they're all in Chinese. So unless you know and you can read Chinese, you're not going to know what to get. They're unfamiliar brands. You don't have something like Tylenol or Advil here. Get some, at least for the first couple of months, to set yourself up. Have some kind of emergency kit until you're able to familiarize yourself with the brands here.
That's correct. And another thing as well is the supplements often here are quite expensive compared to back home. So we bought stuff like multivitamins and ibuprofen that we're familiar with those brands. A big thing as well is regulations here are different. So you kind of feel a little bit more secure if you've got one from your home country that it's up to the standard that you require.
And also for women, for birth control pills, it's not as easy to get here. They don't really have clinics, so you have to go to the hospital. And unless you go to an English hospital, which isn't that often, you're going to need someone to translate for you in Chinese in order to get your prescription, to get your pills. So get a couple of months of it worth until you're able to, get better used to the system here.
Yeah, most of this is to do with it being a hassle in navigating a new country in an unfamiliar language. It's better just to kind of like have enough to keep you going when you first start.
So number 4 on our list is very important also. It's the VPN.
So, China's government blocks a lot of Western websites. For example, Facebook, Google, Gmail, Instagram, Twitter, a lot of social media that we use daily. One way to get around that is to use a VPN. I won't explain what it is, but it's a way to get around this situation. We actually recommend that you buy a VPN service as they're the most reliable thing that you can get. If you don't want to buy a VPN, what I recommend that you do, especially for something like Gmail, is to get a consolidated email account or server. I use Outlook, which basically means that I can add my Outlook address email along with my Gmail, along with my Yahoo, etc., to receive it in one area, in one account, mail server, and it kind of bypasses that whole block from the government.
So anything that's Google related, Gmail, those are all blocked in China.
G Drive.
Yeah, but Microsoft isn't.
Yes, so that's kind of what we use to keep all our backups and cloud related stuff.
Number 5 on our list is a decent computing device for accessing your emails and for keeping your documents.
So if you buy a computing device or even a mobile device, often in China, it's actually all in Chinese and it's ingrained within the system settings. So even if you change it to English, that is only going to be in your user interface. So you really want to get a device that's already got its system set up in English. And another thing as well that's a problem with China is the companies tend to include a lot of like spamware or extra software that takes up your memory in these computing devices, which you don't want. So we brought our own devices from back home, and we found it's very convenient for us.
Number 6 on our list is plug adapters. Getting them from your own home country is a lot cheaper and a lot more convenient, and you're not scrambling to find it in the middle of the day or middle of the night depending on when you arrive in this country.
Yeah, so in China they actually have 2 types of plugs. They have this 3-pronged one, but they have also the more conventional 2-prong as well. The plugs and extensions actually have a combination often of the 2. So you want to look for these types of plugs.
Yeah, make sure your 2-prong ones, they're the same size and not that one is bigger than the other, because that's not going to fit.
Number 7 is Western size clothing.
So in China, if you're Chinese size, so meaning you're not very tall, you have shorter feet, shorter legs, then you're okay.
And you're quite slim.
If you're
as
quite
well.
slim, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're like that, not a problem. You can buy clothes, shoes, everything. Not a problem. But if you're taller, if your size female feet bigger than 8, that will be a problem. And also for females, if your boob size is bigger than a C or a D, that will also be a problem. So some of the issues I find with the clothing size in China, it's that it's a lot smaller than you expect. So if you're used to being like a medium, you're probably going to be a large or an extra large here in China. If you're a large size, you're going to be double extra large, and it's really difficult to find clothes. Currently, I can buy a lot of clothes online, but it's a hit or miss. Sometimes the sizes are not always the same. So I tend not to buy anything too expensive in case it doesn't fit.
Yeah, I've had a similar experience for men's clothes. What you find with the stores, the sizing's not consistent. One store you might fit a large, another store it might be an extra large, another store it might be an XL. Also with men's, here there's a lot of slim fit style stuff, so if you're more into the baggier clothes, that can be a little bit more difficult. And for me as well is shoes, especially shoes. You can find larger size shoes. I'm size 11, but you have less selection, so the shoes that you're going to have may not be the style that you want, etc. And a big thing here, especially in Shenzhen, is that it's so hot. You get very sweaty in your clothes, and that means that you kind of burn through your clothes faster. I think I've gone through like 2 pairs of shoes just from standing, walking around, and like all the sweat. Doesn't sound good, but it's true. It's true.
Yeah, it's really hot, so stick to having light clothing, breathable clothing. Not all classrooms or places that you go to will have AC. You will sweat a lot, but it's okay. Everybody sweats here. So number 8 on our list is Mandarin. So any learning materials or apps that you can get before you get here will be great. Try to learn a couple of phrases before you come, because the problem here is that many people don't speak English at all.
Yeah, not to the same level that you find, like going to European countries or even in Korea. We always found someone, especially like younger people, that could, at least kind of understand some pidgin English and, like cut, one words or something like that. It's not at that level here. And
No.
Coupled with that, a lot of Chinese people are quite shy around foreigners as well.
Yeah, they're scared to make mistakes or some things, and they don't really want to speak. Oh, and if you take taxis, none of the taxi drivers speak English.
Yeah, so when you take taxis, it's a really good idea to find out your address and to find the address in Chinese characters, because they may not even know Pinyin, which is where it's written in like an English Romanized form.
Yeah.
One thing that we highly recommend that you do is that you get a translation app that is offline. That means you do not need to connect to the internet for that. And you can use Google Translate. I mean, that's fine. You can download the offline translation part of that. Pleco we've used. Have you used any different?
No, those are the main ones that I used, yeah.
Yeah, but it's super important because even if you can't speak to the local Chinese people, you can just flash them your translation app with the Chinese characters. Remember, not the pinyin, and they'll probably kind of get the idea. Number 9 on our list is Western food. Western import food here is very expensive and the selection is quite limited.
Yes, comfort food is good, especially if you're having a bad day. You just want something familiar, then it's great to have. Some of my favorite comfort food from Canada is this maple syrup and chocolate bars. I had some ketchup chip, but they're gone now.
And I'm a northern boy, so I've got my gravy, which I love, and you can actually get peanut butter here, but I'm a big fan of natural peanut butter, so I actually brought some with me because all this stuff here is quite sugary. Yeah, ours is quite the story of gravy and maple syrup. Some might say a song of gravy and maple syrup. Number 10 on our list is books.
And board games.
So, books and board games over here, especially English versions, are very expensive. So if you've got your favourites that you want to bring, that you like to have in your hand to play with your friends, definitely bring them with you.
Because if you order them online, it's probably going to take about a month to get here, and there's going to be lots of taxes and import taxes as well.
Yeah, that's true. And also, if you need to use books for teaching English, so you've got any TEFL books, you've got any children's books that you use, or any flashcards or board games like Apples to Apples, for example, then these are going to be very expensive. You're probably at a higher cost because they are learning materials, and China often bans certain children's books as well, so you won't actually be able to buy them here. I think Winnie the Pooh is banned in China.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And also books for yourself to read until you can find a shop that sells more than just top sellers. So if you like something a little bit less top seller-ish, then you should bring yourself some books.
Yeah, if you've got a niche interest, definitely stock up before you come, because everything's just what's popular, basically.
Yeah. So that was our top 10, but there's actually about 2 more things that we want to add.
Yeah, so these are on kind of like things, but we want to add them in there because we feel that they are so important. So, 11, extra documentation.
Yes, everything that you have, make like 10 copies of it. 10 copies of your degree, 10 copies of your passport pages, everything. Because finding a place when you first get here to photocopy is not that easy unless your company can photocopy it for you. Otherwise, and they need copies of your documentation for everything that you apply for. So have it ready so you're not scrambling to find copies or make copies later.
Yeah, and in addition to that, make sure that all your documentation is backed up online. For example, I use OneDrive and Dropbox. I found work here. There are many others that you can use. Get a subscription one that you pay for, because that's going to be more secure and reliable. Also, have an external hard drive. A physical backup of all your documentation is great. The paperwork, make sure you've got like 10 copies and stuff like that. For your passport, you're actually required to take your passport around with you on your person in China. In my wallet, I actually have a photocopy of my passport. If you can't do that, make sure that you have a digital copy on your phone.
Yeah, so take a picture of your passport page, also take a picture of your visa page, and if you have your resident permit, which will come on later, also take a picture of that as well. Those are the 3 things that you need copies of or pictures of as well. So, number 12, this is very important to have, and it has to do with you. Be very patient and be flexible. In China, things work very differently than back home. They have processes, but it's very different. It's not A to B to C to D. It's maybe A to D to C to B back to A. So you just need to be flexible and work with the people there, and try not to get too angry, because people are trying to help you, but sometimes the way things are, there's a lot of red tape.
Yeah, often a lot of the processes to a Westerner seem to defy logic. And that's because there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy, and it often changes. So often they're in the same position to you, but they don't express it. And generally they don't have the same communication that we're used to back home. So again, like Fanny said, be patient, be flexible. But what we suggest you do to back yourself up is to document absolutely everything that you can. So any emails that you have had regarding your job, any messages, letters, keep it all in one place so you've got easy access to it.
Yeah, and take photos of any documents that you sign or any paper that you get copies of, because sometimes you might not get to keep it. So take a picture of it so that you know what it is and you have had seen it.
Yeah, note down all the dates as well of when you were told things, etc. Keep all of this and keep it all in one place and keep multiple copies if you possibly can, because it may be useful for you later.
One thing we do notice that in China is that we are not necessarily told about the entire process. You're told as steps progress. So they say you have to do this and you think you're finished, but you're not finished. There's more steps to it.
Yeah.
So that's why we say be patient and be flexible. Eventually things will work out, but not as quickly as you hope.
Okay, so that was our top 10 list with 2 extras for what to bring with you to China. If you really enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel and like us. Yeah.
And we hope this is really helpful for you guys. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments. And yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.